Hi, this is Dr. John Grazel, and this is one in our series of what we call topics of development. We have a core course in international development, peace building, and post-conflict reconstruction, and then we're supplementing it with particular topics, particular case studies in development. And this is a topic about BRICS, and the importance of this, I don't think I can overestimate. We will discuss. BRIC stands for Brazil, Russia, India, and China. And this is a term that was actually coined a few years ago, supposedly by Jim O'Neill of Goldman Sachs, and has real recognition. In April, in Brazil, there actually was a meeting of these BRIC countries. These are not the countries that the classical development establishment discusses or thinks of. We're always talking about poor countries and Haiti and that, and we don't quite focus on these countries. And yet, if you want to know about international development, both its history and its future, you got to understand the BRICS. Now, we'll look at each of these separately as case studies, because we really want to know. We want to know, first of all, as a phenomenon, what role did they play in development? To what extent did development influence them? People put out figures about literacy and reduction in child mortality, and they include China and India. Well, is that right or wrong? Is the China phenomena really attachable to the international development phenomena or not? Or is it competitive? We'll look at that. We also will look at how each of these countries actually affected the development phenomena outside, how they affected development in other countries. And then we'll really look at how they, as donors, should be affecting today and could, would, should, and will affect the international development understanding of tomorrow. And we'll see some really astonishing things because, to begin with, may surprise some of you or not, all four of these countries are still recipients of USAID money. These countries have U.S. international development missions. China, which is basically buying our debt and supporting us, receives money, not that much actually from the U.S., but quite a lot from the World Bank, to which we are the biggest contributors in terms of subsidized loans. Brazil still has a big AID program and World Bank program. India has a USAID program and a big World Bank program. And Russia, we have a USAID mission in Russia still. So that itself is an interesting phenomenon. We have to say why. Now, having said that, we'll discuss those as case studies. But now I just want to talk about what is this phenomena of the BRIC? Is there a unity between these countries? They met in Brazil together, or there is really a competition, or is it a little bit of a phony put together of just a changing world in which these are four very prominent lights? The other thing is, to what extent do these really fit together, or should we be stressing their differences? And I will be making the case actually that they're very different. There's no question that China is almost the elephant in the room. But we'll also, when we discuss China, look at some of the big problems. And if an elephant trips, it can really do a lot of damage to whatever it falls upon. We'll also look at Brazil. And in Brazil, the question is it really a transforming elephant? If you talk to Brazilians, I remember you say to some of them, oh, Brazil's on its way to becoming a great country, and they'll say, that's been Brazil's history. Brazil has always been on its way to becoming a great country. And the question is Brazil really transforming, or is it actually capped by its past? I will also try to make the case that, in fact, India and the EU has to be understood in ways that it's not, because I actually will make the case that there's a new USAID coming in. It's not the U.S. Agency for International Development. It's the U.S. And India development paradigm. working together. And then there's Russia, which has so many problems, but actually could be the fulcrum that in many ways could tip things for the better or the worse, and really, in the tradition of great Russian literature, calls in some ways for the most profound thinking about what we've done in international development, what we can do, and what we're not doing. Um, because, as I said, we're going to ask ourselves, why are we still giving aid to these countries? What should be our relationship, not only with these countries, but looking at these countries, do they tell us what should be our relationships between countries, not only the U.S. with these countries with each other, but the countries of the world? And then, of course, the question is, to what extent, and this is what we're going to claim, has that BRIC already gone through the window? And the answer is it has gone through the window already. It has already changed the balance between the United States and the rest of the world. For maybe 150 years, the United States, important nation, but stressed actually isolation. It always did commercial relations with the world, but it stressed political isolation. Post-World War II, it actually stressed domination. It was the dominating political and economic power in the world. But today, if you look at figures, the United States is very important and is going to be very important, but is no longer the dominating player. And that will correspond to what we also discuss as a topic of the metamorphosis from a world of globalization to a world in which we now really have to have unity in diversity, because we now have, beyond interdependencies, we have mutual dependency. The parts of our body are not only interdependent, they have mutual dependency. They affect the nature of each other. They just don't connect to each other. They are coalesced in an entity that itself has a phenomenal existence because of the expression of their unity. And that's what we're beginning to see in the world. So we're all going to discuss all these issues as individual case studies of these BRIC countries, Brazil, Russia, India, and China. But the phenomena of the BRIC itself is a topic of development, because it's the phenomena that shows that the scales are beginning to change, because a BRIC is really heavy, and the existence of the BRIC has already, one could claim, smashed the window of the old development viewpoint. And the question now is, how many other BRICs are there out there? And are those BRICs going to be used to form a foundation on which one can build? Are they going to be used to create new walls, which are real structures? Because you can't live in the foundation. You got to put something on the foundation to really live. Or are they going to be used as weapons against each other? At which point they will not only do damage, but you know how people get a BRIC in a riot? They tear down BRIC structures. They actually destroy things in the process of trying to find BRICs to throw in protest for what exists. So the BRICs are more than a metaphor. The BRICs are a reality. And if you want to think about the future of development as well as to understand its past, you got to know about the BRICs, and we'll cover those four separately in our case studies.